if birds are available to you, at approximately what age do you introduce them to live birds? And I mean, this isn't wild birds, pigeons, domestic quail, chucker, whatever. When do you feel like the young dog, the pup, should see a bird?
Well, I usually go, wait for them to get a little older to introduce. They could be 4 months ish.
Okay.
See a little confidence getting built. You can see if they're like skittish with some things. You drop a pan or something in the house. If they're skittish, I just don't want to even take that chance of a bird flapping with both wings in their face and get nervous about it. So I would watch and make sure they have a little bit of confidence built up. Maybe messing around with the birds in the yard, just the Tweety birds and stuff, and paying attention to stuff
see if
like
they
that.
chase them or something like that.
Yeah, just growing up a little bit, not just the ridiculous puppy that can't walk.
Right. Still learning to trot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give them a little bit of time to where they're a little bit older and a little more confident.
Mm-hmm.
Especially before you put like a pigeon, a big bird, or something like that in front of them.
Now, Heather, you're getting a new pup here in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. When are you getting?
Like 3 weeks, I think.
3 weeks. Are you going to follow suit, or do you have like a notion, or are you following a breeder's advice, or are you following Trent's advice? How do you feel about it? Because this one, from what Trent's told me, this is all on you.
It is. And I haven't really thought about that. It's not something I'm super worried about, and I think a lot of people, the rush to do so is more for the person rather than the dog itself, which is hard to put like an age on something like that. Like he said, you got to really watch the pup and see.
It'd be like trying to play Monopoly with your kids when they're 4. Like they'll like Monopoly when
right. I trust
when
that
12.
that dog's going to do what that dog was bred to do at some point.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not really worried about that.
So you don't have a caprice
pressure
conceived
to be
schedule.
like, oh, it's 6 months old. Like I got to get a bird in front of its face.
So you don't have that kind of notion.
I don't think about that.
Yeah.
No.
How about you with birds, Ted?
Well, on like pointer people, like I just had a litter of puppies.
Mm-hmm.
They all had quail at 6 weeks old.
And how do you do that, and why?
Just see what they do. I knew I was like all the puppies were rock solid with noises, like even far off.
You didn't see any outliers.
No. And we did a lot of different like early puppy stimulation and noise stuff, and every single one of the all 8 puppies smashed birds, small quail. And with all the other dogs that I've had, pretty much when I pick them up, the breeders are like, oh, you want to see them grab something? But then I take them away because it will cause a hard mouth. Because they're just like, they want it.
They're a little overzealous at that age.
So like none of or at least the puppies the puppy I'm keeping, he won't see another bird until maybe after force fetch.
Okay. So you want to see a little something.
I just want to make sure they're well-rounded and stuff like that. And I know in the pointing world, you don't want them catching.
Right. It's a different
bird.
It's not the end of the world, but we'd prefer not to.
To catch them. And that's something new that I learned, that puppies, by what I've read, if they're noise sensitive or whatever, all kind of stems in their first 15 weeks of living. Mm-hmm. They learn a lot of bad.
They can learn their fears.
Their fears.
Right.
And so if you kind of expose them to their fears in the first 15 weeks and make it a positive experience, then you're more than likely not going to have that later in life. I've never introduced a quail to any of my dogs that early, but
this litter you did.
Yeah, and like Matt's pigeon loft and the people down the street that have a quail pen, when I get a puppy, I'll go get pigeons or quail and lock their wings at first and let them grab a bird.
Right.
And if they're not scared of the live bird with no flapping, then I'll see what they do with flapping. And if they're scared of it, then just I back off. Yeah. They see flapping, it's
go.
It's game on.
Flap means go.
Flapping's go.
How about you, Scott?
I don't think I can say an age. I think it's dog dependent or puppy dependent for me. I mean, because I'll be walking a puppy at a young age, right? and it follows, you know, how a lot of times pups just go down the 2-track in front of you or something
Right.
like that. And all of a sudden, when they hit that age where they're starting to go left, go right, they're starting to hunt,
Right.
they're showing a purpose.
Right.
And I'll be like, okay, well, maybe we're going to get them into a couple of woodcock or get them into a young grouse cubby or something like that. Then I'll say, okay, well, it's time to let him run into him on his own.
Right.
Let him associate it.
So you wouldn't stage it normally then if you had
No.
your druthers.
The only thing I might do would be I would take a pigeon and I would hold it in my hand and just let him smell it in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Let him just get wound up about it in my hand. And
Right.
if I thought it was real good, then I'd just let it go and fly away. I
Yep.
might do that once, but I sort of wait for him to look. I want to see a purpose out of the dog before I want them to show me that, hey, look, I'm hunting. I'm looking for, I don't
Right.
know what it is, but I'm looking for something.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're right. It can't be an age, but you could almost say it's not going to be 3 months
Right.
and you're not going to wait till a year. You're going to
Yeah.
make sure they have an opportunity to show you.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some pups at 12 weeks. I mean, you can't believe the type of search they got. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what you're seeing. Then I've seen pups at 6 months that are like,
They're on a walk.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think they would chase a bird.
Right.
I
Now, do
mean-
you steady your flushing dogs up? Steady to
A whistle
Wing and
sit or anything?
No, I don't. So people, because of all the I guide
but
more.
for the testing stuff, don't you have to have them steady for tests?
If I did upland points.
Okay.
So if
you're
I
just
wanted to
doing
do upland testing, but the upland testing, in my opinion, is stupid.
for the HRC stuff.
Or for real hunting. Like, if you're in North Dakota and sending your flushing dog into a cattail slough, right, where they can't see the bird drop,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to whistle sit them and then release them. So in an HRC upland test for a flush or a retriever,
Mm-hmm.
what they do is they have those drop nets and the bird drops and the dog has to flush it and then you have to whistle sit it to shot.
Right.
But if you shoot a big rooster in North Dakota and don't kill it, you know,
Mhm.
it's running. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I want my dog just to go
Right.
get it.
Yeah.
So people say, "Oh, you do more upland stuff than anybody else." I don't want to run that test. I don't want to teach my dog that.
Right.
Like
right.
I want him to find me the bird.
I agree. There's a lot of tests out there and portions of tests, certain tests that you're like, this makes
Not
hardly
applicable.
0 sense to do in the
No,
wild.
it's all
wild bird.
obedience.
Yeah.
And my dogs are very obedient. But no,
Can you call them off a running bird? Can you call them off?
So I do like throw a bird out of a winger
Right.
and maybe like what we call like a breaking bird where it lands like right there where the dog's like,
Right.
I want that.
Yeah.
And then I'll know them off that and then run a blind.
Okay.
So I can do that.
Right.
Like I don't even bring a whistle duck hunting. Like training and duck hunting is different.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was just curious. Yeah.
Like the guy that got me into actually competing, I always make fun of him. I'm like, you have a test dog.
right.
And we took him and he's got bad knees and stuff. So he took him on an easy hunt, shot a goose, swimming 200 yards out strong. And my female broke. And I was like, I called her back. I was like, you can't do that. Send Axel. And this dog's been to the Grand and all this stuff. Like
right.
super retrievers, champion, and all this stuff. He swims 200 yards out there. The goose beats the shit out of him. And there was no whistle or command to get him to go back. And I was like, if I would have sent my meat, she competes too, but if I would have
She's a
sent,
big dog. Yeah.
like, she would have drowned that goose before she let it not
Yeah.
come back,
Or drowned herself.
No.
All right. Well, talking about introduction to birds when they're puppies, like a lot of the people I see at a training day, I thought that dog needed to see birds
Yeah.
a lot. Well, birds fly and the dog chases the bird and you're like, yes, yes, yes. And literally, I think then what I learned is, yeah, my dog can chase birds and so would my wife's corgi, right? It's a flying bird and it's lower to the ground. And I swung completely opposite with my last dog. He literally didn't see a bird until 2 months before it's tested, 14 months of age. And then when I took him out to the training grounds, he had no search. And I was like, oh my God, he has not. But as soon as he found his first bird, all those instincts kicked in. And I think what he was going to be was what he was going to be. I personally feel that too many birds too early is just overstimulus for the dog until you can control the situation. So now I'd say if I got a new pup now, I'm not worrying if he better well like birds. I mean, it just would be not well bred if it didn't have a passion for birds. So I kind of go, I'm on the long side of it. Like, I'm not worried about it until hunting season. All right, so this doesn't have to be a long one, but when do you start introducing your pups to blanks or gunfire?
Yeah, that rolls right into the birds.
Okay.
After, you've introduced some birds, they're confident, they're searching,
Yeah.
they like the birds, they like to chase birds. Then I use that chasing a bird and add gunfire in the back with that. So then they correlate. Chasing birds is fun, gunfire is fun. And then you just, slowly get closer and closer and up your calibers. And I use the flying bird as a distraction to enter gunfire.
Right. What are you going to do with your new dog, Heather?
That.
You're going to let it chase and then shoot and introduce it?
Yeah, we always make sure there's at least
not
two
simultaneously.
people.
The birds are going to come first.
Right.
But then mix the gunfire into it, the
We've
blanks.
always had the second person hanging back, and then we just direct them, get closer, get closer, get closer.
Ted, what about you?
Again, I kind of changed my view on it. I used to wait a while, but now just all the research that I've done and seeing puppies do it, the earlier I introduce it to them in a positive way and far away, it's not like I'm just
more exposure though.
Yeah. They just don't care.
You're not keeping them away from noise.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'd take a puppy and put it right next to a popper,
no.
but it's in the back of the truck. And then maybe I get done running my dogs at a training session and I go walk them around back and they're just like, oh, poppers. Like I had the puppy at a HRC event 2 weekend ago and I'm just walking them on a leash and we're sitting there watching a season test and they're more keyed in on like, oh man, what's that noise? Like they're watching the test.
Right.
They're not scared.
Almost like a tie-out steak dog.
Yeah, they're not scared of it. They're just looking at it. And I think it comes into, like he said, like how well is the dog bred? What are the people doing with the dog? If you get a dog that's like, oh, my buddy had some puppies, it's a GSP or golden retriever or whatever. We didn't do anything with them. You're probably going to have some scared dogs. But somebody that takes time to introduce like the puppies to all sorts of stuff in the beginning of their lives, I just don't think they care.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're going with our puppies and stuff.
More exposure early, but not
like
not
in
actual
their face.
Gun sensitive training yet. Just
no, but they're still hearing those noises. They're still like when every single night, it's weird. With our puppies, we would put these weird sounds on YouTube, like thunderstorms or whatever. And you would think a puppy would freak out when the thunderstorm comes on, or like jackhammers from a construction site. They all go to bed. They're like, oh, it's nighttime now. We go to bed now. Like the loud noises calm them down. So I think it's how the dog's bred and what
I'm sure that's got a lot to do with it. But yeah, it's more like what you do and don't do. Scott, what do you do with gunfire? Again, not an age, but like.
So what I do, I start with a starter pistol, but I don't mix mine with birds. I wait till that puppy is searching with intent, and I'll have somebody like you guys said, maybe 100 yards behind me, and that pup will be searching out in front of me. Fire the cap gun, right? And I'll probably fire it away from the puppy.
Right.
And it seems like most of the time that they'll stop maybe the first time, look around, and I'll ignore them and I'll just keep on walking and they'll start searching again and I'll have them do it again. I'll use that cap gun until they never stop, and then I'll go to a shotgun.
Right.
But I don't do it with them chasing birds. I want the shot and the bird
right
separate.
They're
right.
separate cats.
That's just my opinion, though. It's just
No. When we put the Upland Institute together, Justin showed what he would say is the 3 basic ways to do it. One would be what most retriever people would do with bumpers and distance shots, and then getting it closer and getting it closer. The other one is we showed the pigeon release right from there, and the dog's chasing it, so you can really watch the dog's disposition. But when he's doing his personal dogs, and I think I'll do this with this dog here, is he does the same thing. He does it during their walks, so he doesn't want the shot to mean go.
Yeah.
That's why and I think that's kind of what you're
There's
saying.
a reason why I do it that way.
Is it for later steadiness then?
Yeah. My last dog was totally steady to wing shot and drop in 3 birds. So, I mean,
Because shot never meant anything
it
besides,
didn't mean anything to
it was just noise while I was out in the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you keep up that training all through hunting season? Making
So,
steady
I
through
did,
wing
and
shot
then I
drop?
just let it go. But if I ever own another dog, I will. So I didn't do the maintain part. I did the first probably 2-3 weeks of the season. And then I just was like, you know what? I let it go. So
You can get that back in training if you want.
I can, but I haven't. But I can tell you that, like if I miss a bird or something like that, she doesn't go more than 10, 15 yards.
They know. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a bird fluttering. Did it fall, or is it out of their life?
Yeah, I mean but
What about steady to wing? I mean, there's no shooting there, but
I mean, steady to fly or wild flush.
yeah, to a wild flush.
yeah, mine doesn't move.
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
to stop it. Yeah.
But that's the only reason I do it that way, because later training is so easy.
Easier.
Right.
But that's again, it's just personal preference.
Right.
Wait, so how do you get them to stay steady to the flush?
So I do it with check cord work and
Check
stuff
cord.
like that.
Okay.
The dog knows well with things like that. But usually, it's what gets a dog is when you shoot the gun, they watch it
They
drop.
want to go.
Right.
Right. That's a lot of stimulation.
Well, the way I did it like that shot meant nothing to the dog. So
Right.
it was still just like standing through the flush, right?
Right.
And then also I say fetch. They're like, oh, okay.
Time to go.
Yeah.
Well, I took that away from Justin. I don't know what I'll do as far as that goes, but I'm definitely going to introduce the birds and the shots separately, because that made a lot of sense to me that if bang means go and you want to bring your dog back to a steady level, now you got to fight the fact that the dog hears bang, and that means I could tell you my first dogs, I could call them out of the woods by shooting my gun in the air.
Yeah.
And that's a sure sign that you did not expose them to guns and birds the right way, because they would hear a gunshot and they assumed the bird was flying. I could get my dogs to come back from the woods. Like if I'm back at the truck, I'm like, where are they? Boom. Here comes the dogs. Like, so.
There's another reason I do it. If you're out hunting, right, and you got bird hunters that are a quarter mile away and they're boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
How many type of dogs have you seen them like,
Looking.
they start
I've seen my dogs take off and go help the other hunters.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't want that.
So bang doesn't mean go and bang doesn't mean bird yet.
Right.
It just, yeah.
Means nothing.
Right.
I just noticed it was a shortcut for later training is what I noticed. But
Can you say it?
Like and subscribe.
No, please like and subscribe. Say it. Please like
Subscribe.
and subscribe. Well, that's not bad. Please like and subscribe.